Hello guys, hey, how's it going? I hope you guys are doing well. Hey, I know I have not done this in a few months now, but guess what? I'm going to do filming the news. So we're going to start this with an article on canva.com. This is actually a pretty good read. It says that film photography is not dead. 8 reasons to go analog in an increasingly digital world. Now it starts off by saying that photography may be overwhelmingly digital nowadays, but the influence of film remains palpable to this day. From the photo app filters that emulate the look of film to new digital cameras designed to look like vintage ones, film continues to affect how we perceive the aesthetics of photography in general, and I would say that's very true. Now let's start with some of the reasons that they talk about why film is still relevant today. Old cameras are fun to collect, and I totally agree with that. That's why I collect old cameras. I love it. I love the fact that I'm a part of history, and I think they also talk about that. Collecting cameras is never boring because of the wide variety of cameras that you can find. Unlike their digital counterparts that more or less look the same, film cameras significantly vary in design. And that's very true. And all of these are pretty much affordable. You can have a range of from half frame cameras to full frame cameras, point and shoots, rangefinders, SLRs, medium format cameras, twin lens reflex cameras, and large format cameras. I mean, the range of film cameras is very wide. So the article talks about the wide range of cameras, and I think that's very true. But let's go to number 2. Analog cameras provide insight into how photos are taken, and I would totally agree with that. When I started shooting with film cameras, I quickly realized that film cameras are very effective at teaching you basically how cameras work, how photography works, and I think it's so relevant today. If ever you want to learn about photography, pick up a film camera, especially a manual SLR, and you will literally be forced to get better at photography and to learn the basics of photography as well. And that's what I really appreciate about film photography. Let's move on to number 3. Film photography forces you to be more meticulous, and that's true. You don't get the luxury of just shooting at will. I find that even though now I'm shooting more digital because of my business, I find that I'm still very meticulous. I still look through the viewfinder, the eye level viewfinder. I totally oftentimes ignore the LCD screen, and even though I get the option of shooting practically an unlimited number of shots, I find that I'm still very frugal when it comes to the number of shots that I take. I'm more careful with how I compose my images because of my training in film. I'm more careful with watching out for the lighting and trying to figure things out by myself and not letting the camera do all the work. That is something I picked up from shooting film. So let's move on. Developing photos can be a very satisfying experience. Totally agree. I find that there are levels in engagement when it comes to film photography. Collecting cameras is one of them. Shooting with those cameras is another. And also working in the darkroom or even developing your own film is certainly another. It's an even higher level of engagement. And at each level of engagement, there are different rewards, I find. And I find that working in the darkroom is a totally different level of enjoyment of film photography. So I always encourage you guys, if you can get to that level, by all means, do it. Develop your own film. You'll save money, and also you will actually enjoy the process a lot more. And you can take it even further by printing your own photos in the darkroom if you do have the facilities or the ability to do that. I do it, and to be honest with you, that is like the icing on the cake. It talks about film teaches you a lot about light and colors. It says the different chemicals in film influence how it renders light and color. As you experiment with different film stocks, you will become more familiar with their peculiarities, and eventually you'll learn to use them to your advantage. Totally agree. Because film is so tactile, you learn by different stocks of film that you put into your camera, and you'll be surprised how much they vary. I mean, from black and white film to color film, to different ranges of different types of color film, different types of black and white film, even expired film. They come with different effects on them. Sometimes the grain quality is different. The chemicals present in any particular type of film vary in sensitivity, and because of that, some films tend to create shot photos that are almost indistinguishable to digital images, while others produce subdued colors or contrasty images. And with film, it's not just about the film stock, it's also the combination of the film stock and also the lens that you put on the camera will contribute greatly. And the play between the lens, the quality of the glass, and your film stock really contributes to that film look that is so desired by some of us, and keeps some of us shooting film. So let's move on. Number 6, with film you never know what's in store for you, and that's very true. If you use expired film, you'll get a different look. If you put on a different lens, you'll get a different look. If you put on a different stock of film, you'll get a different look. Sometimes if you overexpose the film, you get a different look. If you underexpose, you may create a different effect. There's just so much play, different combinations of these factors that you can have with film that can lead to totally different results. And even after you shoot your image, the way you develop that image can give you a different look. You could do cross-processing. You could extend the time for the developer. I made a mistake one time in the darkroom. I was developing color film, and instead of putting the developer in first before the blicks, I put in the blicks. And then I quickly remembered, oh, I'm making a mistake. This is not right. So I quickly poured it out, and then I poured in the developer after that. And I must say that the results that I received were very, very interesting. Actually, I'll put some pictures right here. Very interesting results. It wasn't expected, but one day I might do it again just because. And number 7, it says film photography can be turned into an artistic pursuit. What is art? Art is basically an expression, right? And art can take different forms. So art is something that comes from inside you, that comes out, how you express it. With digital photography these days, I find that the cameras do a lot of that work for you. So your part in creating that art is very minimal, unless you're talking about post-processing using computer software to do different edits. And that legitimately is also art by definition. But with film, you get to put in a lot of creativity to influence how your image will look. Film just allows you to have a lot more latitude when it comes to creativity on your part. And so that way, in that sense, it allows you to basically express yourself a bit more, not just in the shooting process, but also in the darkroom, as I mentioned earlier as well. And the last but not the least, it says the future of film is uncertain. Hey, I guess that's one reason to support film, because you're helping to grow this hobby and to just keep it alive. So hashtag keep film alive and shoot film.